Alright, I'm going to do a demonstration slash tutorial on Prezi. It's a presentation software for presenting your case or any other presentation you might do. I commonly use it for presenting at CLE seminars. So it is, just open up your browser, go to Prezi.com and create an account. You can create a free account. And you just log in. Certainly you won't have these when you log in. These are some other Prezis I've done for seminars. But you just click the new Prezi option here and it'll take you into this screen here. This screen gives you a few templates. I've never used a template. I've always just kind of created my own based on whatever vision I might have for that presentation, but some of them look like they could be quite useful. What I'll do is I just hit Start a Blank Prezi and it opens you up into the editing window. From here it will give you these options to add text as far as titles, subtitles, body, but in this blue circle, I don't know why we get the blue circle, but I just delete everything to work with there. That circle comes from different things you can add into your frames, but what we'll do is we'll do a very simple Prezi today with just a few different views to show you how it works, show you the editing process and creation process. So let's just kind of jump right in. We'll say that we'll zoom out a little bit here, give ourselves a little room to work with. We're going to do a presentation here on a blood test case. Say it's an OVI drug case. We're going to make this one OVI related, DUI related. In other states, Ohio, we call it an OVI. But we'll make it a blood test. So we've got a blood test. We'll just put this label on it. We can increase the size of that. And then move it around as we just click and drag. And we'll say, throw another one on here. We'll say, can you trust it? The result that you get. And we'll make that red. And then we can click out, and to position this, we get these dotted blue lines that help us to adjust. And we'll just center it right underneath there. I'll even increase the size a little bit and make sure that's centered. Now the nice thing about Prezi is you're not using slides. You're not killing anyone with PowerPoint. You're creating views. So and the thing about Prezi is it has a zooming feature. It allows you to zoom into your view. So what we'll do to spice this up a bit is we'll add some images. And since it is a blood case, we'll do blood sample. And you can add your own files here. When you go to insert, you can add YouTube videos, background music, voiceovers, voice over your own slides. So you can, I was going to narrate some of my presentation materials so people can kind of relive the presentation online, but you can insert files from your computer, import PowerPoint presentations, draw arrows and lines, and just to add emphasis to whatever point you're making. But we're just going to pop in an image here, and we'll say this is our client's blood test. So we can select from files on our own computer, or we can select from images on the web. It just searches Google Images. So we'll take a blood test here. We'll make it bigger, move it around, and center it right underneath there. So we'll make it a little bit bigger just to play with our views. Kind of get it underneath the words there. Alright. Now to test it, because you can only zoom in so far, we're going to say that There's some stuff wrong with this blood test, but to test this, before we get too far in, we want to make sure that we can zoom and hide the images that we want to zoom by how far we're zooming in. So one of the things that we're going to put in here is, we're going to say maybe there's a blood clot. Maybe some clotting in the blood, microclotting, something to that effect, that's causing a problem with the reading in our blood sample here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this really small and make sure we can zoom in on it. So we'll come back out, and this is probably going to be more than enough. I just hope we can zoom in. So we will, so we can still kind of see this square, but just to help with navigation, we'll hit Edit Path and Add Current View. This path is your substitute for slides. So we will zoom in and add this little picture here as our second item on the path, and we'll just hit Done. So instead of slides, you have views. We click out to our original view, and this is what the audience will see. The audience won't see the grid lines that you see when you zoom in. The audience just sees a blank white page. And then we can navigate by clicking here and getting our original view, or clicking here and zooming into our next image, that is the blood clot within the blood. So if you zoom too far on an image, you will get an error message. Your error message will be you can't zoom in any further, which would be a problem in this instance. So we'll click back out, and you'll see that that kind of disappears because it is so small in our view. There it is again, because when I get rid of that image bar, it gets up just a little bit bigger. So if I click that picture, I can resize it, and we'll just make it a little bit smaller. We'll zoom in. Can't zoom in anymore. Okay, so that's about as much as we can zoom in. So we'll click that, we'll make it just a little bit bigger. We'll come back to our original view, and sure enough we can't see it. So because we've got that there, we can work a little bit more with our image. So we will add another image to our presentation here. We will go with this DUI case. It's an alcohol case. So we'll make this a Jack Daniels blood vial here. So we're just going to put a label on it. So that image will load up. We'll shrink it down. And what we'll do is we're going to put that right on there. So we can grab our label, rotate it, shrink it down, and we'll just kind of position it right there on the vial of blood. So we'll just create our own little label for our vial of blood. Make it an official Jack Daniels label. There we go. Maybe a little more rotation so it lines up with the edges of the blood vial. So when we zoom back out, there we go. Now, let's find some other little pieces to insert here. Maybe some other problems with our blood test. And what do we want to add? See, our label was in line with the vial, so we can spin this the same way. So our blood clot is in line with the bottle, and we'll say that they were using an alcohol-based antiseptic on the skin. Maybe that's a source for the alcohol that's in the blood. And we'll tap that right in there as well. Spin it. There. Lit up because we're kind of in line with it there. And we'll add that to it. else here? We'll throw in, well, they say our client was sleepy and out of it, so maybe there's something else in the blood to explain that, and that's because he had conveniently taken some Benadryl. So if we switch our view here, we zoom up, we'll make sure our Purell bottle is the same size, and we'll add our Benadryl container. So we're all lined up on that one too. Make it bigger and kind of get everything in line. Now, we don't want to make our audience seasick with all the motion in this, but if you get your views, your images close in size and close to each other, they do not get that whole zooming effect every time. It doesn't click all the way back out to here and then go all the way back into your view and get that whole motion sickness theme to it. So it just slides. You'll just see it slide into view from the bottom. So if we close out of this, we go back to our main view. There we go. Oh, we didn't add those views. Now I could put my mouse cursor on this and scroll back into these. I could use these scroll options here, but the nice thing about adding a path to your Prezi is you can just click and it'll bring it here. It's the closest option to what I'm trying to get at, and I can just zoom out a little bit and add these two images to my path. So I've got the first thing was that big view, the second thing was that clot image, then we'll add an image of Purell, add an image of Benadryl. So we've got 4 views coming down the side here, and we can do a few more things here. If you hit the red X, it'll remove it from your view. You can reorder your views straight from here. You can clear them all, obviously, or you can animate your views. And I'll show you that in a second. So we'll say we are done. Actually, let's see if we can do this. We'll zoom back out to our big image, okay? And from our big image, we will animate our views. So not just can we pop in little pictures and text, we can decide the order in which those will appear to our audience. So if we hit this little star, we will animate our frame content. This will just show you what order in which our images will fade in. Now, on each of these images, we can order them like that. I think what I'd like to do is actually remove the order. I can make the Jack Daniels label appeal first, and then we'll add that as a second animation. So that is done. We still see it, but that's not what the audience will see. And I'll give you an example of that. I just want to note that when you are working with images, oops, I'm still in the edit path. So we'll just close that out and hit done. When you are working with images, you can crop it, you can add effects to your images, you can resize, rotate, so it makes it easy to work with. But when we're working on our animation side, or our view side, an important note here: if I grab anywhere, I can move this view wherever I want to go. I just click in my edit path to bring it back. If you meant to grab white and you grab this image and you move it, it's like, oh my god, now I just worked so hard to line that up. Now it's off. All my little images of my Purell bottle and everything else, that's all out of whack. Right up here, you've got your undo arrows. Undo and redo. Very helpful in case you screw something up. On my keyboard, I can hit that undo, or notifications there, I can hit Control Z, and that will bring it back up to where it was before I screwed it up. So we've kind of got a little presentation here to work with, and I'll show you what this will look like to the audience. You can download these, you can present them offline. Right now I'm online, but if I'm in the courtroom, I might not have internet available to me. So, but just as an example from within my browser, this is what your audience will see. They will see a blood test, okay? They don't see the red text, they don't see the Jack Daniels label, but down here at the bottom, we get our options. We can set timer intervals for autoplay, which we're not really going to use in this instance. We can exit the full screen option. We get a slider bar that helps us navigate through our slides. We've only got 4 slides here, so that's not really all that helpful. But we've got these arrow keys. Now if you're presenting from your keyboard, I can present these from my iPad, iPhone, wirelessly. If I'm using my computer, you've got these arrow keys. In the app, just the right side of your screen is your arrow key. So if I hit the right arrow key on my keyboard or click the right arrow on my computer, it will change to the next aspect of the presentation. In this instance, in this view, the next aspect is the animation that I created. The ordered animation, the first one, is that Jack Daniels label. So we've got a blood test. Now our prosecutor would have you believe that blood contains Jack Daniels, that's all alcohol in that blood. The client was drinking Jack Daniels, and that's why it's in their blood. But we fade in the new text, can you trust it? So what we'll do is we'll take a deeper look into the prosecutor's claims. We'll take a deeper look into that blood sample. So when we look into that blood sample, what do we find? We find blood clots because there wasn't an anticoagulant, or they didn't properly mix it into the blood, and you're going to have blood clots that'll affect our test. What else is there? So you see it sliding up from the bottom. You see that the Purell hand sanitizer is in the blood, and that could be due to the non-alcoholic antiseptic on the skin. I don't think they actually use Purell for that, but maybe the person doing the test was using Purell. Maybe somebody in the laboratory. Just kind of making this up as I go. But our client was sleepy. We're not going to tell you everything was wrong. We have an explanation for that. It wasn't due to alcohol. It was due to the Benadryl that was also in his blood. Just had allergies. It's reasonable, right? So there you go. It's a nice way. You can use a slider bar to zip back out to your beginning. It's nice because you can zoom, and you can zoom and twist into an image like you see there. But I'll give you another example of another Prezi I have done. I did one on investigating the breath machine, and when you present, this was a very complex Prezi. It had a high number of slides. It was a long presentation, let's put it that way. I had, let's see here, 90 some slides on there. But when I present this, alright, so let's see here. I think you see at the bottom I'm actually on slide 62. You can adjust this all the way back and forth. I'm not sure why I had it on 62. Okay, here's why. I had an example here. When you're presenting, you can use the arrow keys at the bottom. I was talking about the refrigeration of the sample, the control solution. So in Ohio, you've got some information there, and then so you see from the main view of their breath testing room, you can zoom in. We'll talk about refrigeration, so we zoom into the refrigerator, and then we can go deeper. We can look right into the inside of that refrigerator. We'll see in this instance they had a proper they were storing it in this fashion with a thermometer showing you the temperature it was being stored at. This is probably one of the better ways in Ohio that they do it, but we can click right over and you can see how they will also store it right there with the leftover spaghetti. Not in the bottle. The bottle is nowhere to be found, and it's a nice way to illustrate it because you're in the refrigerator that you could see from the master image here, but this is working within the path that I created. If you're presenting that, you don't need to do that. I can click on a different view. If I were to be presenting this, let's see here. If I'm presenting back to my image here. 62 would have led me into the refrigerator, but I don't want to go into the refrigerator. If I want to talk about something else, I can say, all right, well, I want to talk about the electrical problems with their breath test. So I went to their electrical system for this image, this background image. All right, so they have it plugged into a power strip in this one, but with a few other instruments here. But an example of a really bad setup, I've got it, and I can just click it. It doesn't need to be in the path. And then in this one, they've got the breath machine, its little antenna here, surrounded by radios. Their electrical setup is just multiple interconnected power strips hung on the wall. Refrigerators. I think there was a wall air conditioner in this room as well. It was just a horrible electrical and RFI setup for their breath machine. So it was an example in the presentation, but I don't need to do that in order. I can scroll out. I can come back down to my bottom here and click back to, say, the main source. So it's a way of zooming in and explaining a topic. It's a great way to do that. That is not PowerPoint, is the bottom line here. It's something you can use to get a point across that's not PowerPoint, that will keep your audience interested in what you're doing. So there you go. It's a little tutorial. You can find some more of mine online, but when you finish it, you can share it. You can work on these together with other people, and if you download it, you can present that offline as well. So there's a little example for you. I hope Prezi is something that you can use. It certainly worked well. I've gotten good reviews on presentations when I'm using Prezi, and wish you the best of luck.